Hope is one of the most powerful emotions a human being can experience, yet it is far more than an abstract feeling. Scientific studies have shown that hope has a biological presence within the human brain and body. When neuroscientists began examining brain scans of people experiencing hope, they discovered that it activates specific regions of the brain that are responsible for motivation, planning, and problem solving, particularly the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex. These regions help us visualize a better future, set goals, and develop strategies to achieve them. This means hope is not just a product of imagination, but a measurable brain function that directly affects how we think and act. When a person feels hopeful, the brain releases dopamine, a neurotransmitter linked to pleasure, motivation, and reinforcement. Dopamine fuels the desire to keep moving forward, even in difficult circumstances. In moments of despair or uncertainty, hope triggers neural pathways that allow individuals to focus on solutions rather than obstacles. This mental shift can determine whether a person gives up or keeps fighting for change. The presence of hope helps the brain stay engaged in finding ways out of adversity, creating a sense of purpose and direction that supports both emotional and physical health. Research in the field of neuropsychology shows that hopeful thinking engages the brain's reward system, the same system activated when we achieve a goal or experience joy. By stimulating this network, hope not only uplifts mood but also strengthens cognitive control and resilience. It teaches the brain to link effort with positive outcomes, reinforcing perseverance. This biological process explains why hopeful people tend to recover faster from setbacks and illness. Their brains are wired to search for opportunity, to adapt, and to reframe challenges as temporary rather than permanent. Hope transforms stress into action. It does not remove pain or uncertainty, but it provides the mental energy required to endure and eventually overcome. The ability to remain hopeful, even during hardship, correlates strongly with better physical health, improved immune response, and faster recovery from trauma. This connection between the mind and body demonstrates that hope is not merely psychological, it is deeply physiological. Hope also plays a critical role in shaping how people interpret their experiences. The brain uses patterns of thought as filters to understand reality. When an individual is hopeful, these filters prioritize optimism, growth, and problem solving. This mental framework influences the brain's perception of events, encouraging constructive responses rather than fear-based reactions. In this way, hope acts as a protective buffer against anxiety and depression. It fosters balance within the brain's emotional systems by reducing overactivity in the amygdala, the area responsible for fear and stress, and increasing activation in the prefrontal cortex, which governs rational thought and decision making. This neurological balance empowers individuals to stay calm under pressure and maintain mental clarity when life feels uncertain. Moreover, hope strengthens social and emotional connections. When people feel hopeful, they are more likely to reach out, seek help, and form supportive relationships. The brain releases oxytocin, a bonding hormone, which deepens trust and empathy. This biochemical response creates a cycle of emotional support that further reinforces hope. In contrast, hopelessness isolates people, reducing both brain and body resilience. Thus, hope not only heals the individual but also strengthens community bonds, promoting collective endurance in times of hardship. Ultimately, hope is a biological force that sustains human survival and progress. It is encoded in the neural architecture of the brain, driving us to imagine, create, and persevere. Every action toward a better future begins with a spark of belief that things can improve, and that spark is made possible by the brain's intricate systems of motivation and reward. Through the science of hope, we now understand that optimism is not naive, it is natural. It is the brain's way of giving us strength when we need it most, a biological design that helps us heal, rebuild, and move forward against all odds. Neuroscience has revealed that hope does not only influence emotions but also transforms the brain's response to stress. When people engage in hopeful thinking, visualizing better outcomes, or believing that change is possible, it causes measurable changes in the brain's structure and chemistry. Functional MRI scans show that hope reduces the overactivity of the amygdala, which is the brain's emotional center responsible for fear, anxiety, and stress responses. At the same time, hope activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, planning, and emotional control. This dual effect helps the brain shift from a state of survival to a state of calm problem solving, allowing people to face challenges with clarity instead of panic. In this sense, hope is not an escape from reality, but a biological strategy for resilience. It equips the brain to handle adversity more efficiently by controlling the physiological responses that arise from fear and uncertainty. When hope is present, the brain's stress response begins to quiet down. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, decreases, while serotonin and dopamine increase. These neurotransmitters are linked to feelings of happiness, motivation, and well-being. This balance not only makes a person feel more at peace, but also promotes healing on a cellular level. Chronic stress damages neurons and weakens the immune system, but hopeful thinking can reverse some of these effects by regulating the body's stress hormones. People who practice hope-based visualization or meditation show lower levels of inflammation and stronger immune responses. This means that hope is not only an emotional shield, but also a physiological healer. Through its influence on the brain's chemistry, it protects the body from the harmful effects of prolonged stress, including anxiety, depression, and heart disease. Scientists studying hope have also discovered its connection to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and create new neural pathways. When someone practices hopeful thoughts consistently, the brain reinforces positive connections between regions responsible for emotion regulation and decision making. Over time, this rewiring helps individuals respond to stress in healthier ways. Instead of feeling helpless or overwhelmed, the brain learns to anticipate positive possibilities and generate constructive action plans. This shift in perspective is not imagination. It's a change in brain function. Hope literally trains the brain to think differently, making it more flexible and adaptable under pressure. That is why hopeful people often recover faster from trauma or illness. They have brains conditioned to focus on solutions rather than fear. Hope also influences the autonomic nervous system, which controls involuntary bodily functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing. When someone feels anxious, their sympathetic nervous system becomes overactive, triggering the fight or flight response. Hopeful thoughts help activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which slows the heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and induces a sense of calm. Brain scans show that this shift enhances oxygen flow to the prefrontal cortex, improving concentration, creativity, and emotional balance. As a result, people are better able to think clearly, make rational choices, and maintain stability during stressful times. Furthermore, hope enhances mental endurance by providing a sense of purpose. When the brain believes that there is a reason to keep going, it releases neurochemicals that strengthen perseverance. Studies of patients with chronic illnesses or depression show that hopeful individuals maintain higher levels of energy and lower levels of fatigue. Their brains interpret hope as a form of safety, signaling the body that it is possible to recover and thrive. This perception reduces the intensity of the stress response, helping both mind and body to conserve energy for healing. In every way, hope acts as a natural regulator of stress. It quiets the chaos in the brain and creates order through optimism. It helps people face uncertainty not with denial, but with determination. Brain scans confirm that hope transforms fear into focus, turning anxiety into strength. It is proof that the most powerful antidote to stress does not come from outside sources, but from within the mind itself. When we choose to believe in the possibility of better outcomes, our brains respond by creating the very conditions that make healing and peace achievable. Hope and healing are deeply connected within the human brain, not only as emotional experiences, but as neurological processes that influence how the body and mind recover from pain, illness, and trauma. Scientific research using brain imaging has revealed that hope activates the same neural networks responsible for physical and psychological healing. When individuals feel hopeful, the brain releases neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, which improve mood, enhance motivation, and promote recovery. Dopamine, in particular, is known as the brain's motivation molecule. It encourages persistence and helps people envision positive outcomes even in difficult circumstances. This neurochemical process creates a feedback loop where belief in the possibility of improvement strengthens the body's healing mechanisms, proving that hope is both a mental and biological. Medicine, studies conducted on patients battling depression, addiction, or chronic illness show that those with a strong sense of hope recover faster and respond better to treatment. Functional MRI scans demonstrate that hopeful individuals have stronger connectivity between the limbic system, which manages emotion, and the prefrontal cortex, which governs decision making and reasoning. This communication between emotional and cognitive centers allows people to balance feelings of distress with rational problem solving. When a person believes healing is possible, their brain translates that belief into measurable physiological responses. The immune system functions more efficiently, inflammation decreases, and the brain's capacity for self-regulation improves. This process explains why positive expectations can enhance the effectiveness of medical treatment, a phenomenon often seen in the placebo effect, where the mere belief in recovery triggers real biological improvement. Hope also impacts the brain's ability to adapt and grow through neuroplasticity. When someone holds on to hope, their brain begins to form new neural pathways that support resilience and coping. This rewiring helps individuals reinterpret pain and trauma not as permanent damage, but as temporary challenges. Over time, hopeful thinking strengthens the networks associated with problem solving, emotional stability, and persistence. It teaches the brain to respond to obstacles with flexibility and creativity rather than fear or resignation. This is why therapists and neurologists often emphasize the importance of maintaining hope during recovery. It keeps the brain's healing systems active. The more someone practices hope, the more their brain adapts to support that mindset, turning it into a lasting internal resource. In contrast, the absence of hope disrupts these healing mechanisms. When hopelessness takes over, dopamine levels drop, neural connections weaken, and the brain's stress circuits become overactive. This imbalance suppresses the immune system and prolongs the physical and emotional effects of pain. However, reintroducing hope, even in small doses, can reverse these effects. Through positive reinforcement, supportive relationships, and achievable goals, individuals can retrain their brains to believe in improvement, reigniting the neurochemical processes that foster healing. This connection between belief and biology highlights the incredible power of mental states in shaping physical outcomes. Hope also strengthens motivation by giving people a sense of direction. The brain is goal-oriented by design, and hope fuels this system by offering a target for effort. When people set meaningful goals and truly believe they can reach them, their brains release dopamine in anticipation of success. This chemical boost not only enhances mood, but also increases energy, focus, and endurance. In medical and psychological settings, this means that hopeful patients are more likely to follow through with treatment plans, exercise regularly, and make healthier choices, all of which contribute to faster recovery. Ultimately, hope transforms the healing process from a passive experience into an active one. It empowers individuals to participate in their own recovery, both mentally and biologically. By activating brain circuits linked to reward, motivation, and emotional regulation, hope creates the internal environment necessary for healing. The science of neuroimaging shows that when we choose hope, the brain responds by generating strength, resilience, and renewal. Hope is not just a comforting thought. It is the signal that awakens the body's innate capacity to heal. Hopelessness is one of the most damaging mental states a person can experience because it alters the brain's structure and chemistry in ways that weaken emotional and cognitive health. Neuroscientists studying brain scans of individuals who have lost hope found a significant reduction in activity within the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control. When this part of the brain becomes less active, a person's ability to think clearly, make rational decisions, or find motivation drastically decreases. At the same time, the brain's limbic system, particularly the amygdala, becomes overactive. This heightened activity triggers excessive fear, stress, and emotional pain. The result is a cycle of despair, where negative emotions take over logical thinking, making it increasingly difficult for a person to see solutions or believe in change. In this way, hopelessness doesn't just affect mood, it literally changes how the brain operates. Prolonged hopelessness also impacts the brain's chemistry. When the brain stops producing sufficient amounts of dopamine and serotonin, motivation and pleasure begin to fade. These neurotransmitters are essential for feelings of happiness, reward, and satisfaction. Without them, even daily tasks can feel meaningless. This chemical imbalance explains why hopeless individuals often experience fatigue, apathy, and disinterest in life. The brain's reward system essentially shuts down, removing the internal drive that pushes people to pursue goals or seek improvement. Over time, this state can lead to clinical depression, anxiety disorders, and even physical illness. Chronic stress from hopelessness triggers the continuous release of cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. High levels of cortisol damage neurons, especially in the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory and learning. As a result, hopelessness can impair concentration and memory, further trapping individuals in cycles of negativity and confusion. The long-term effects of hopelessness are not limited to emotional suffering. They also manifest in the body. The mind and body are interconnected through complex biological systems, and when hope disappears, the body begins to mirror the brain's distress. Immune function weakens, sleep patterns become disrupted, and inflammation increases. Studies show that people with persistent hopelessness are at higher risk for heart disease, weakened immunity, and slower recovery from illness. The body interprets mental despair as a signal of threat and exhaustion, reducing energy reserves and slowing down healing processes. In this sense, hopelessness acts like a silent toxin, gradually deteriorating both mental and physical well-being. Despite these devastating effects, neuroscience also shows that the brain can recover once hope is reintroduced. The brain's capacity for neuroplasticity means that it can rewire itself and restore damaged connections through new patterns of thought and emotion. When a person begins to feel even a small amount of hope, activity in the prefrontal cortex starts to increase again, helping to regulate the overactive limbic system. Dopamine production rises, rekindling motivation and interest. With time, these changes strengthen neural pathways associated with positivity and resilience. Therapeutic interventions such as cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, and supportive relationships can all help reignite hope. By focusing on achievable goals, self-compassion, and gratitude, individuals can retrain the brain to replace despair with determination. Social connection plays a vital role in this recovery process. When people feel supported, heard, and valued, the brain releases oxytocin and endorphins, which counteract the effects of stress and sadness. These chemicals restore emotional balance and help rebuild trust in oneself and others. Encouragement from loved ones, therapists, or even community groups provides external reinforcement for internal healing. Each act of support reminds the brain that change is possible, gradually reversing the effects of hopelessness. Ultimately, the science behind hopelessness reveals that it is not a permanent condition, but a reversible state of mind. The brain, though deeply affected by despair, has the capacity to regenerate and heal through hope. Every moment of belief, every effort to envision a better future, and every act of courage activates the neural mechanisms that restore balance and strength. In this way, even the smallest spark of hope can begin the process of rebuilding a brain that once believed it was broken. Hope is not a passive emotion, but an active mental skill that can be cultivated and strengthened through deliberate practice. Neuroscience has shown that the brain constantly rewires itself based on repeated thoughts and behaviors, a phenomenon known as neuroplasticity. This means that hopeful thinking can be trained just like any other habit. Each time a person chooses optimism over despair or focuses on a possible solution instead of a problem, the brain forms new neural connections that reinforce resilience and positivity. Over time, these pathways become stronger, making hope a more automatic response to challenges. Cultivating hope daily is therefore an intentional process that shapes both the mind and body toward growth and healing. One of the most effective ways to build hope is through gratitude. When individuals regularly reflect on what they are thankful for, brain scans show increased activity in the prefrontal cortex and the anterior cingulate cortex, regions associated with emotional regulation and well-being. Gratitude shifts focus away from what is lacking and toward what is possible, reducing feelings of helplessness. This simple practice changes brain chemistry by increasing dopamine and serotonin levels, helping people feel more motivated and emotionally balanced. Keeping a gratitude journal or taking a few moments each day to appreciate small victories trains the mind to look for positivity even in difficult situations. This steady awareness of good moments reinforces the neural circuits that sustain hope. Setting realistic, achievable goals is another powerful method for cultivating hope. The brain's reward system is highly responsive to progress. Each time a person takes a small step toward a meaningful goal, dopamine is released, creating a sense of satisfaction and encouragement to continue. This chemical reinforcement builds momentum and strengthens the brain's belief in the possibility of success. Breaking large challenges into smaller, manageable actions prevents overwhelm and allows the brain to experience continuous motivation. Over time, this practice turns effort into optimism, teaching the mind that persistence leads to results. Hope grows naturally from this process of goal-oriented success. Surrounding oneself with positive and supportive people also plays a crucial role in strengthening hope. Human brains are wired for social connection, and the presence of empathy and encouragement from others activates the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone that promotes feelings of trust. Safety and belonging, supportive relationships create a psychological environment where hope can thrive. When people witness others overcoming obstacles, the brain's mirror neurons simulate that experience, inspiring belief in one's own potential. This social exchange of hope reinforces the idea that challenges are temporary and that together healing and progress are achievable. Mindfulness and visualization are additional tools for building hope. When individuals visualize positive outcomes, their brains react as if those outcomes are already happening, stimulating the same neural networks involved in achieving real success. This process strengthens motivation and reduces anxiety. Similarly, mindfulness practices train the brain to stay grounded in the present, reducing the mental noise of fear and doubt. By learning to observe negative thoughts without judgment, people can reframe them into opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective reduces stress responses and enhances emotional balance, creating a mental environment where hope can take root and expand. It is also important to understand that cultivating hope does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. True hope acknowledges reality while still believing in the possibility of improvement. This balanced mindset allows the brain to remain flexible under pressure. Studies show that hopeful individuals have higher levels of resilience because their brains are better able to regulate emotions and recover from setbacks. They see obstacles as challenges rather than permanent failures, which keeps their motivation strong. Over time, the consistent practice of hopeful thinking trains the brain to respond to adversity with creativity and courage. Every act of focusing on hope strengthens the brain's capacity to handle life's uncertainties. By nurturing gratitude, setting achievable goals, surrounding oneself with supportive people, and practicing mindfulness, anyone can teach their brain to find light even in darkness. Hope, when cultivated daily, becomes not just a feeling but a learned skill, a neural habit that transforms how a person experiences the world and empowers the mind to face the future with confidence and strength. Scientific research into the nature of hope has revealed that it is far more than an emotion or a coping mechanism. It is the driving force behind human growth, healing, and potential. Brain imaging has provided remarkable evidence that hope activates areas of the brain linked to motivation, problem solving, and reward, particularly the prefrontal cortex and the striatum. These regions play essential roles in setting goals, evaluating possibilities, and maintaining focus on positive outcomes. When a person experiences hope, the brain produces dopamine, a neurotransmitter that fuels determination and the pursuit of meaningful objectives. This biochemical process strengthens the connection between thought and action, proving that hope is not passive. It is an active neurological state that pushes the human mind to seek progress and overcome adversity. Every breakthrough in science, art, or personal achievement begins with hope. The belief that something better can be created sparks neural activity that promotes creativity, persistence, and resilience. Brain scans of individuals engaged in hopeful thinking reveal increased communication between the emotional and cognitive regions of the brain. This interaction allows people to balance optimism with realism, to dream without losing focus on practical steps. Hope shapes how the brain interprets reality, transforming challenges into opportunities for learning rather than signals of defeat. This shift in perception rewires neural networks to expect positive possibilities, which in turn influences behavior and decision making. The mind becomes more solution-oriented, and the individual gains the courage to move forward even when the path ahead is uncertain. Hope also enhances physical and mental performance by influencing the brain's stress and energy systems. When a person is hopeful, cortisol levels decrease while dopamine and serotonin levels rise, leading to improved mood, sharper concentration, and greater emotional control. This biochemical balance allows individuals to handle challenges with composure and persistence. Hope, therefore, serves as a bridge between emotion and execution. It motivates the mind while regulating the body's stress response. Athletes, patients, and leaders alike benefit from this process because it keeps the brain in a state of focus and adaptability. The energy generated by hope is not imaginary. It is measurable through the brain's neurochemical responses. Moreover, hope strengthens human potential by fueling purpose. When people have a vision or dream that inspires them, their brains create a framework for goal pursuit. The anticipation of achievement releases dopamine in the reward system, encouraging continued effort even when obstacles arise. This is why hopeful individuals are more resilient. They are neurologically equipped to endure setbacks. Each step toward a desired outcome reinforces the brain's belief that success is possible, creating a self-sustaining cycle of motivation and progress. This neurological pattern explains why hopeful people often perform better academically, professionally, and emotionally. Their brains are conditioned to focus on solutions rather than problems, turning effort into progress and setbacks into lessons. Hope also fosters empathy and connection, which further amplifies human potential. When people share hope with others, the brain releases oxytocin, promoting trust, compassion, and unity. These emotional bonds strengthen collective resilience and inspire communities to work toward common goals. Throughout history, social movements, medical recoveries, and innovations have all been powered by shared hope, the belief that change is achievable. This collective energy ignites neural circuits of belonging and cooperation, transforming individual strength into societal progress. What makes the science of hope extraordinary is that it unites biology and belief. Brain imaging has proven that hope is not merely psychological comfort. It is a neurobiological mechanism that enhances performance, health, and creativity. When we imagine a better future, our brains begin preparing for it as if it were already possible, aligning our thoughts, emotions, and actions with that vision. This is the essence of human potential, the ability to shape reality through the power of belief. Every moment of hope rewires the brain towards strength and transformation, showing that within each person lies the biological capacity to grow, heal, and create beyond limitation.